Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're actually looking inside the mechanics of comedy itself.
That's right. We've got this great source materials. It's an extended transcript from episode 2 of a fictional audio sitcom, Gastronomique Disdain.
Yeah, the episode's called Besties, Breaths, and the Queen's English. Sounds fun already.
It is. And our mission here isn't just, reading through it. We're really digging in, doing a bit of comedy archaeology, you could say.
Okay, archaeology. I like that.
We're looking at how this thing is built, how it creates this escalating farce. We want to understand how the show really nails that high-low clash. You've got Reginald, who's all refinement, and then bam.
Bam is right. You get Uncle Dave and, crucially, his surprisingly articulate dog, Winston. Pure philosophical chaos agents.
Exactly. And the whole thing, the whole narrative, it really gets going because of this fantastic misunderstanding right at the start.
Yes, the détente. So episode 1 apparently ended with this fragile truce, this détente. But Uncle Dave, well, he didn't quite get the memo.
Not even close. He decides détente is, and I quote, close enough to a blood oath of friendship.
Which makes him and Reginald inseparable besties in his mind. It's brilliant.
It's the perfect comedic launchpad because it makes his next action, while totally absurd, seem logical to him.
Right. So because they're besties, he absolutely has to take Winston the cockapoo, jump in the F-150, and drive straight to Reginald's very refined world in Manhattan.
It's like an act of, accidental cultural terrorism, fueled by misplaced affection.
And the script gives us that immediate correction, which is key. Dave saying, we're besties. And Winston the dog just deadpans in perfect Queen's English.
David, détente means a truce, not a blood oath of friendship.
That line from the dog just sets the entire tone, doesn't it? Establishes the intelligence behind the chaos that's coming.
Absolutely. It tells you this isn't just random silliness. There's a knowing quality to the disruption.
Okay, so let's get into that disruption. Segment 1 in our notes. The departure and the duality of Winston. The road trip starts, and right away we see Winston isn't just one thing.
No, he's fascinating. The writers immediately set up this contrast. Dave complains about Winston's loud slooping in the truck.
It's a classic dog thing.
But it's not just a throwaway detail, it's structural. Winston justifies this really gross habit with the most high-minded language possible.
Right, he says something like, one must cultivate one's garden. Self-care is the cornerstone of a refined existence.
He frames licking himself as, essential maintenance for a sophisticated being. It's that high-low thing again, instantly. High-flown language, base animal behavior.
And Dave, who has zero time for fancy talk, just cuts right through it.
Yeah, he says, looks more like you're licking the cornerstone clean off.
Yeah.
And that back and forth, that's the rhythm, isn't it? Winston says something profound. Dave gives the blunt, earthy translation. It sets the pattern for the whole trip.
Definitely. Which brings us neatly to segment 2, road trip philosophy and pit stop chaos. This is where we get Winston's actual wisdoms.
Yes, the 3 wisdoms. And they're great because they're these little philosophical nuggets that Dave just mangles. Or maybe simplifies down to his own level.
Take the first one. Winston gets all poetic. Life is not the road behind or ahead, David, but the donut in your paw. Savor it. Deep stuff from a dog.
And Dave's takeaway.
So you're saying my whole life's Timbits, powdered and half-eaten.
But the script notes say he's grinning when he says it. He takes this potentially critical observation as a confirmation of his life choices.
Yeah, he seems completely immune to any kind of, subtle critique. His self-image is rock solid.
Impervious, which makes him the perfect weapon against Reginald's world. But crucially, the philosophy doesn't just float there. It's grounded in these really specific, chaotic moments, like the 7-Eleven.
The squirrel jerky. You can almost smell it through the script.
Yeah. Right. Dave microwaves it, stinks up the place, and when someone objects, he offers it to them, calls it regional cuisine.
It's appalling and brilliant.
And that's where Winston steps in again, not with philosophy this time, but with a desperate warning whispered aside. Do not offer strangers your jerky. Civilization is fragile.
Why is that line so important there, do you think?
Well, I think the script is explicitly telling us, through the dog, that Dave isn't just being crude. He's actively tearing down the thin walls of polite society. And Winston's the only one who sees the danger.
The dog is the worried intellectual observing the fall. I like it.
And it gets even more precarious at the border crossing. The guard asks why they're visiting.
And Dave's, sticking to the bestie delusion, just blurts out, bestie visit. Simple as that.
So Winston tries damage control. whispering the most sophisticated cover story he can think of. Say you summer in Antibes.
Trying to deploy that veneer of class.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it backfires completely because Dave hears Antibes and translates it through his own reality.
I summer in Aunt Beebs. She's got a trailer down Yarmouth Way. It's just perfect. The class signals are completely crossed.
Total communication breakdown. So how do they get through? Not with clever words.
Nope. Pure animal instinct. Winston apparently licks the guard's badge until the guard just waves them through, probably out of sheer confusion or disgust.
That lick. It's the chaotic solution. Again, instinct triumphs over intellect or refinement when Dave's involved.
Then there's wisdom number 2. To master one's basest instincts is to find enlightenment. Very zen.
And Dave's immediate, practical translation.
So like holding in a fart at church.
And the script actually says his interpretation is accurate. Why validate the crude version?
Well, maybe it suggests that Dave, for all his lack of polish, sometimes hits the nail on the head faster than the, overly refined types. It's about authenticity versus performance, perhaps.
I think that's it. It keeps Dave from being just a buffoon. There's a kind of accidental wisdom there, which ties into wisdom number 3 about civilization being a thin veneer.
Right. Winston says you scratch it and find men welding supper on plow blades, which sounds pretty rough.
But then he adds, and yet, that too's beautiful.
And Dave hews this and apparently gets teary-eyed thinking it's a beautiful compliment about his cooking.
Because he probably has welded supper on a plow blade. The script completes the circle. Dave embodies the raw reality, and Winston finds a way to frame it, even poetically.
Okay, so they've philosophized, caused minor international incidents. Now, segment 3, club infiltration. They arrive in Manhattan at the Farnsworth Club, Reginald's turf.
Yes, the inner sanctum, chandeliers, brandy snifters, security, the absolute opposite of Dave's world.
And Dave tells Winston, act natural, blend in.
To which Winston delivers the ultimate reality check. David, I am a cockapoo without trousers. I cannot blend.
He knows his limitations, but Dave doesn't seem to know his.
Not at all. At the door, he announces himself as Reggie's bestie. Winston tries one last attempt at the sophisticated approach. Tell him you own a vineyard in Provence.
And naturally, Dave translates Provence into his own experience.
I own a van, once broke down in Providence.
That confusion, Providence, somehow works, or at least creates enough hesitation.
It seems so, because Dave gets in, and he's carrying the weapon of mass destruction for this environment.
The cooler, labeled Beer Can Chicken Deluxe.
It's the Trojan horse of bad taste. Inside, Reginald is in his element, talking about, what was it? Saffron consommé.
Yeah, extolling the virtues of saffron consommé and its delicate perfume, setting the scene perfectly for
The explosion. Dave bursts in yelling, Reggie, bestie, we made it. Drove all night. Got you chicken.
And the reaction is pure farce. Gasps, spilled brandy, and the script specifically mentions a monocle ejecting like a cork.
That monocle popping off, it's the physical punctuation mark of Reginald's social demise. His reputation isn't just dented, it's shattered right there.
His attempt to explain Dave away, it was from Nova Scotia, is just so weak.
Completely futile. And then the final insult, the sensory overload. Winston jumps onto a fancy chaise lounge and just starts.
These symphonic slurps, you can just hear it echoing off the walls. The ultimate auditory violation of this refined space.
Utter humiliation achieved. But it's not over yet, is it?
Not even close. Which leads us to segment 4, the podcast disaster. Reginald, desperately trying to manage the situation, pulls them into the club's podcast studio.
Trying to contain the fallout, maybe regain some control by using this, modern professional setting.
Why the podcast studio, though? What does that add comedically?
I think it's genius because Reginald thinks he's putting the chaos in a soundproof box, but he's actually giving it a microphone and potentially an audience. It's maximum exposure under the guise of containment.
Ah, okay. And the second they're alone.
Winston leans into the mic, clears his throat, and finally drops the bomb in perfect Queen's English. Greetings, esteemed listeners. At last, I may speak without disguise.
The ultimate reveal. Confirming Dave wasn't just rambling about his talking dog.
And the shock is literally too much for Reginald. He just faints. Good heavens.
But this is where the farce really escalates, right? Dave sees his bestie collapse.
And immediately leaps into action, but with a completely wrong diagnosis. He thinks it's cardiac arrest, a myocardial infarction.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Okay. And his first aid attempt is, well, it's Dave-level first aid. He miscounts the compressions. He blows air, but into the microphone instead of Reginald's mouth.
Into the microphone.
Into the microphone. And then, the absolute peak of Dave's panic logic, He decides he should try rinsing with beer first before attempting mouth-to-mouth.
Rinsing with beer, oh my God.
The imagery, it's moved beyond social embarrassment into actual biological violation. It's horrific, but also hysterically funny in its absurdity.
So who saves the day, or at least stops the beer rinsing?
Winston, of course. He has to shift gears again. Philosopher, commentator, and now emergency interventionist.
He tells Dave to stop.
Yes, very calmly, very clearly. David, it is a feint, not a myocardial infarction. Cease mouth-to-mouth immediately. He's the only rational being in the room again.
So Reginald eventually wakes up.
Damp with flop sweat and beer vapor. What a state to be in.
And he delivers that perfect line. This is the most humiliating evening of my life. Understated, given the circumstances.
But Dave, incredibly, seems to see the whole ordeal as a success. He actually asks, but we're besties now, right?
He thinks mutual trauma equals bonding.
Apparently. It shows his relentless optimism, or maybe just his complete inability to read social cues, even traumatic ones.
And the final touch, the sign-off.
Winston leans back into the mic and delivers one last, long, victorious slurp. The chaos is recorded, sealed, and signed off with its signature sound.
Wow. Okay, so pulling it all together.
Yeah.
What does this script really show us about constructing comedy?
Well, I think it's a masterclass in structured farce. You see this constant collision between the fragile veneer of civilization Reginald's Club, his language, his consommé, and this unstoppable force of, let's call it unfiltered authenticity that Dave and Winston bring.
They're not malicious, just oblivious, or operating on a different frequency.
Exactly. And the Raiders use these very specific, tangible things, the cooler, the jerky, the slurps, the podcast mic, as devices to make sure that refined structure doesn't just get dented, it completely collapses.
So we've tracked how this one little word, a tantaton, spirals through misunderstanding and, questionable hygiene into utter public ruin for Reginald.
Right. And the takeaway for you, thinking about how comedy works, is how crucial those small, specific, often physical details are. The popping monocle, the beer vapor, the slurping, they anchor the absurdity and make the escalating disaster truly memorable.
It's not just concepts, it's the concrete execution.
Precisely. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on, maybe. Reginald's whole identity, his reputation, is absolutely demolished by Dave's interpretation of Friends.
Total annihilation.
So the question is, could that complete breakdown, that public and frankly biological shattering, actually be the best possible foundation for a real, albeit deeply weird, friendship between them?
Has Reginald, in a strange way, been liberated by the very disaster he feared most? Something to think about.